having a lot of cramps. Do you guys have any bananas?
Welcome back to the Colecast. This is episode 86. It will air sometime in February. I am your host, Francis, and
Do you think it's going to take that long to edit this?
Yes, I have been joined by Nathan, who has a lot of thoughts and feelings today.
I've been alone.
And has been just a punisher so far today. This is potentially going to be shelved. We'll see where it goes. Come see us at the California Blacksmith Association Spring Hammer-In.
Spring Conference.
April 15th through the 18th.
So close. 16 to 19.
16 to 19. And if you're out there on Friday, the 18th, buy me a soda pop. It's my birthday.
I thought you were buying other people sodas.
Yeah, no, if they come up and say, hey, I'm a listener, I'm going to buy them a soda pop, but because it's my birthday, they have to buy me a soda pop.
What do they call it in California? Soda or pop?
I don't know, but Greg at the CBA last year came up to me. He said, hey, can I get you anything? And I said, I just need something to drink. I'm very parched. He goes, oh, you want, a water or what? I said, yeah. I had just quit drinking pop again, which I'm back on, so it doesn't matter. But I had just quit drinking pop again like a month before that. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to treat myself. Can you give me a Coke? Is that possible? He goes, yeah, absolutely. And I was expecting a can or like a McDonald's Coke, something like that. This dude brought me back the largest bottle of Coke under a 2-liter, whatever that is. It was bigger than a liter.
I don't know.
But I don't know if there's like a liter and a half. The biggest bottle of Coke, and I drank like 3 drinks of it, and it was so good. But like 20 minutes later, I felt so sick.
I thought that the state of California outlawed soda.
No, there's like a special tax on it, though. I think. I think it's
what do they call that?
Sugar tax.
Just sugar
That's the
tax?
layman's term. I don't know what the actual.
What's the tax on like tobacco?
Tobacco tax.
Called like a vice tax, I thought, or something like that.
I don't know if that's like a technical term. I've heard the term vice tax. I know there's taxes on.
Keep asking questions. I'm going to Google
stuff.
things.
Yeah, come see us at Vista. It's right outside of San Diego. I'll be out there and
Syntax.
Nice.
Syntax.
When
Like
you're
spelled different.
yeah, but spelled not like saying your words out of order.
Sin or ad valorem. Floor stocks.
Yep, great content. So come see me. I think this year I'm probably going to try to do a nice fancy dinner for myself on Friday. I go out to California, and every year I want to go to bed before everybody goes out to dinner. Because it is like midnight my time by the time everybody's ready for dinner. And I'm in bed by 10 o'clock 90% of the time. So midnight is a super stretch for me. And then I wake up at like 3 a.m. because that's 6 a.m. my time when I normally wake up, and just sit in my hotel room and do nothing. So I think I'm gonna try and go out on Friday night and do a nice. Does California have good brisket?
Probably not.
I like brisket. That's true. Last time I was out there, I just got some Thai takeaway and takeout.
Speaking of Thai,
and
this guy
squid.
just messaged
fantastic.
me in Thai, and I can't get it to translate.
You're sure it's in Thai?
Looks like it.
I don't know the difference. I can't see, brother. I can't.
No.
That looks like
Could
Yiddish.
Could be anything. It's not Korean. It's not Japanese. It's not Chinese. That's where I'm at. So, Nathan, let's jump into it.
What's up?
You have recently started out on a new venture.
It is Thai.
Nice.
I nailed it, dude. Package is beautiful. Love that.
Great.
It's a nice pic.
You've started this new venture at Farmsmith, and we are a couple months into you doing this full time, full steam.
Yep.
What's going on with that? How's that been? Everything's broken.
Everything's broken. Well, not everything. Everything broke. I've slowly pieced my life back together somewhat. lot of things are still broken. I've got the duplicator up and running. That's super fun. Yeah, it's just a new season. I think probably the biggest, there's a multitude of hurdles I've had to kind of jump through. But one thing that I found really challenging is that I completely own my time and I don't have anybody that I'm accountable to except a bank for my mortgage. And so I've had to kind of unwire myself from like, doesn't matter when I wake up, doesn't matter when I go to bed, doesn't matter when I answer emails, doesn't matter when I can just kind of float. Mm-hmm. And my personality is crushed by that level of freedom. So figuring that out slowly.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but are you saying there is absolutely no limit, or are you saying the limits have expanded to a point where you feel like there's no limits? Because if somebody emails you
family
and says, "Hey, I would like, 500 of this keychain, and I want to see if you can make it," you kind of have to respond to them.
Oh, well, yeah, I respond quickly, but I would say, it's just like, I have the pattern ingrained that Monday through Friday are for work, and then Saturday and Sunday are for family. And I've just had to now it's kind of like Monday through Saturday are for work and family. And so like I'll take Teddy to preschool and then I'll go run some errands, which is what I was going to do today. Excuse me. Cause I had to borrow your laser. And, I don't know. It's just different. It's like, I just can work whenever I want. I need to pop out and fill the boiler, split some firewood, mow the grass.
Not a lot of that going on right now.
Not right now. No, everything's frozen. So I don't know. It's just different. I think one of the things that I'm really wrestling with right now is like, I'm a Christian and I'm trying to, I left Cole because I felt like it was time for me to, it was just like an anointed, it was just time. And so I left, and now I'm wrestling with this idea of like faithful business ownership and what does that look like? And where is the line of faith and work? Like, where do I have to pour myself out? Where is that misplaced? And I'm trying to save myself. Like, it's kind of a manifestation, if you will, of something I think everyone lives with and wrestles with on a small scale, but now it's like my whole being is wrestling with it 24 hours a day.
So are you wrestling with the idea of, because this is weird because I haven't even talked to you about this. I have said multiple times on the podcast that I'm trying to get better about. It's 5:00. I'm done. I'm no longer a Cole employee, and I still love what we do, and I'm so passionate about what we do, but I also need my time outside of Cole. And so I'm trying to get better about that. And it has kind of almost come down to a faith issue where my identity for so long has been tied up into the work that I do and how I'm serving my master, which is, either my bosses or my customers or whatever. And I am trying to do better now about understanding what that work to life relationship is, because the Bible does talk about being a good steward of what God has given you.
Right.
And God gave me a fantastic opportunity here and great coworkers and even better customer base and a really cool job. And I don't want to squander that. And I want to be faithful with that. But at the same time, I also understand that my identity and who I am should not be tied up in that.
Yeah. I think it's a confusing, like the words don't work. They're not meaningful enough. It's like identity. It's like, it's such an overused
It's like
term.
that. What's that TV show where they are interviewing somebody for a job and they're like, tell me about yourself. And the guy's like, oh, well, I'm really into baseball and I volunteer here. And he's like, nope, those are things that you do. Tell me about yourself.
Right.
And he keeps asking him and it's like a comedy scene, but it reminds me of that where it's like when you ask somebody, what is your identity?
Right.
Well, I'm a Hoosier. I'm a Christian. I have 3 kids or, whatever the case is.
Right.
I don't have any children. That's not a surprise thing that I just popped on the podcast, but
prophetic.
But, it's really hard to tell somebody like what your identity is, even if you're saying like, well, I put my identity in Christ. And if you go back and read that, it's like, it still doesn't seem substantial.
Match. I feel like we haven't wrestled with it enough to answer correctly and succinctly, right? I think it takes more thought than we've ever given it, because I don't, if you were to ask me who I am, it's like, I feel like no matter what my answer would be, no matter how verbose I could become, I couldn't
get pretty verbose.
I couldn't articulate it. And I think part of that's due to my lack of understanding. And I think there's a knowledge gap in everyone. I think something's really off. And so that's what I'm wrestling with right now is what you're saying. But it's like, I think there's a lot of complacency in our willingness to give an answer so poor. You know, it's like, who are you? Oh, man, I love the Reds. It's like,
we're a Cubs family, but yeah.
I don't know what that even is. But I think the meaning is derived from the understanding. And I think we're giving a poorly understood answer. And that's what I'm kind of experiencing now. It's like my whole family, like I put everything I have up for grabs. Our home, the stability, like all of it. And I still don't feel like I've let go of enough for what I'm being invited to do to happen. I feel like I'm still in the mindset of, this is on me. I have to figure this out. And what I've noticed from experience is when I get in the mindset of I have to figure this out, I pour myself out and no fruit comes of it. But there's a lot there. I shouldn't say that. There's no benefit. Ultimately, it fizzles. And so I'm just kind of in this season of waiting, and things are happening slowly. And, when I was a kid, my mom would often say, we're into microwaving and God's into marinating. And there's this identity crisis that's happening right now where I'm like, yeah, but if I fail, it's on me.
Yeah, but I don't think that that's necessarily a problem with you. It goes back to, and I didn't know this was, I thought we were going to be sassy to each other. I didn't know that this was where this was going.
I got no sass left, dude.
I don't either today. It's a problem with, and this is coming from somebody who is employed by somebody else, and I understand the hypocrisy in what I'm saying, but we have lost our identity in a lot of ways as a society because we have become so goal oriented that we can't enjoy the fruit. When you go back and look at peasants and I'm talking actual peasants, like the working class peasants of, Europe. The reason that the Catholic Church made so many feast days is because the government and warlords and landlords and all that were making people work so often that the Catholic Church was like, well, we're the only thing bigger than the government, so we'll just override you. It's a feast day. You can't work. And that was their way of actually giving people time off. We now work, I think it's like twice as much annually as the average peasant because we don't take those feast days off. So yes, they would work from sun up to sundown.
There was a seasonality to their work. I mean, it is more akin to a teacher's schedule, I'd argue, because every farmer I know has another business they run in the off season. And that's a whole nother conversation we won't even broach. But I think, when everything was put in place, there was an expectation of seasonality. And I think there was a sermon I listened to when I was much younger. It came out of Mars Hill, way back in the day. And the conversation was about Sabbath, and he played the sound of an air conditioner drumming in the background, just humming. And he likened the normal pace of life to the drum of the hum of an air conditioner, where there's no rhythm, there's no discernible direction, right? There's nothing happening.
Yeah.
And then he, had a drummer come up and played a beat, and he likened the Sabbath to the beat of your week, which gives a rhythm to your month, which gives a purposeful musicality to your year. And I think you can expand out from that. There was a seasonality, there was a rest period every 7 years, and then again every 50 years, something like that.
Yep.
There was a rhythm.
Well, that was what my point is the whole idea of working hard, and it's the old adage, you work hard to play hard, but the reason you work so hard was to be able to enjoy it, being able to, when you would go and gather your harvest, you would have a giant party, and in old Jewish tradition, when you got married, you didn't work for a year, and you weren't allowed to join the army for, I think, 4 or 5 years or something like that. Maybe it was 7. It's like 1 year, 3 years, 7 year. They're really big on those numbers, but, there was like you said, there was a season. I got married.
Apart, right.
So it's about learning how to interact with my wife. Maybe it's about having our first child. Maybe it's about, and not like you weren't allowed to go get a job. Like you weren't allowed to work.
Right.
Your house was built. You didn't take that first year to build your house and furnish it. You took that first year to
put in the work.
Enjoy marriage. Right. Cause you already put in the work. And then, you go and you get your fields done. And, you get your fields done, you collect your harvest. The first thing they did was offer their sacrifice at the altar. And then it was like a week long, dude, we're not doing nothing but drinking wine and baking bread and eating grapes. And, it was about enjoyment.
But there was also a lot more on the line. I mean, a poor season, a poor harvest meant
you're not making it through the winter. Right.
Right. So I think, I feel a certain level of like, I was really unwilling to do this a year ago because even though I felt this pull, this call, I just wasn't comfortable with it. And comfortable is such a weak word. It's not about comfort. Comfortable being, I wasn't overwhelmed with anxiety and anticipation of stress, right? Like there was a certain level of willingness to risk that came aboard. And I think that felt a lot more poignant and identity driven, because it's almost like most people that I will talk to, when you talk about their identity, it's things they associate with. It's I feel like a deeper sense of identity is more so like, what are you risking? Like, where are you at the very edge of who you are, and a willingness to pursue things beyond the knowledge of, current state.
I like that point. I've never thought about the risk involved, but I would liken it to my identity. And it goes back to what I was talking about, is what am I serving? If you meet everyone knows an old guy that is everyone's grandpa. Whether you grew up a couple blocks down from him or he was your friend's grandpa, and you just, Kurt is everyone's grandpa. We've got that. I've got Ewald, who I talked about last week. If you were, I think it really has been this rapid of a change. It's like, well, who are you? 2 generations ago, they would have said, I'm a father, or I create business. And they tell you the thing that they are serving the most in their life, which still I don't think is a whole or total answer to what we're talking about. but it's at least on the track. Like if you think, you remove yourself, think about if somebody went to your wife and said, Malin, I've really, really been struggling with my identity and what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Who are you? And Malin was able to just confidently say, well, I'm a wife, and I'm able to be a wife because I have a husband, and we're able to be a mother and father. And it's that simple. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's who I am. I serve my husband and I serve my children, and my husband serves me and he serves my children. And then bringing the risk into it is poignant because you're serving at what cost?
Right.
And when I think I am fortunate enough to have, this is your monthly reminder that I have the greatest father on earth. I was fortunate enough to grow up with my dad, where if somebody were to say they identify as a father, I see every cutback that he made to his own budget. My dad didn't have hobbies. Mm-hmm. We had hobbies as children because my dad made that sacrifice in his own life to not have. I just found out that my dad loves model trains.
I believe that.
Because he's never had a model train set. Mm-hmm. Because he was making sacrifices for other people. Now that all the kids are grown and, they're talking about getting a different property and stuff, he's like, I think I want a 3-car garage. Mm-hmm. It's like, Dad's never been, he'll fix it if it's broke, but he's never been a tinkerer, mm-hmm. So like, what do you need an extra bay for? And, all of the farming stuff you're getting into is going to my house. So like, and he was like, well, I think I want to have a model train set. Mm. And it's like, in that moment, like, well, my dad's identity wasn't serving himself. Mm-hmm. My dad's identity was serving his children and his wife and his nieces and nephews. A lot of times, all of my cousins have lived with us at some point for extended amounts of time. And, he was serving by the entirety of my mom's side of the family because her parents live in Texas. And he was kind of the guy directing stuff as far as like, just like point of contact for the family. It's like, it's not like my dad was the big boss and my aunts had to come to him and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this
on
and
the
get
day
permission.
Of your daughter's wedding.
Yeah. It's just like my dad was the dude that everybody in the family knew we can call Scott mm-hmm. if we need something. So his identity, and my dad might be able to say it, but I genuinely think he would struggle to articulate his identity as well. But when I think about the older people, the generations before my dad, it's so easy to pick out what I believe their identity is. And I think there was there was a simplicity in, and maybe it's because I grew up in a small town where education wasn't the most important thing. But there was a simplicity to the way that old timers talked. They got the same coffee every morning at the same, it was called Highway Cafe, the restaurant in town. They had that routine you're talking about. Well, I get my coffee and then I go to work, and then I always eat the same ham sandwich. On Saturdays, I, coach T-ball, or I'm the umpire over here, or we do a rec league here or whatever. And we've lost that and once again, I didn't realize it till I started here. Think about how blessed we are to have a 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. I can, because for the first 17 years of working in the world, I had a schedule that changed day to day. Right. I didn't have a weekly, okay, I know I'm going to be there at 11 on Tuesday and Wednesday. It was like every week it changed. And so we've lost that routine. And I think that's way bigger of an impact than people give it credit for.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of modern structures are really young, mm-hmm. right? So, we don't have a historical precedent for a lot of the way that we live, and schedule being one. I think seasonality is missing, identity is missing. I'm trying, while we're talking about this, I'm trying to think of like, how do we pull this down to ground level where people listening can think in their own mind about who they are and what
I think it's a lot more relatable than you're giving it credit for. I think people will 100% listen to this and go, oh, that's what it is.
But I think people are feeling this because I'm feeling this. You're saying you feel it, this crack.
Do you feel it, Evan?
Void between who I am and what I do and why. And, I think the track that I've taken now, there's a level of risk that is building resiliency within the identity and understanding on why do I do what I do? Well, I mean, baseline, I do a lot of what I do for sustenance and provision. But then I look at, I felt called to do this. I felt invited to do this. So where is the risk actually? Because I think within myself, the risk that I talked about originally was the risk is that I'm hiding my talents. The things that I've been given aren't being utilized. That's the true risk. But all I see is the risk is provision. And, yesterday I was sitting and praying. I came in the house because I was absolutely frozen to the bone. And I was sitting by our wood stove writing and just praying and thinking. And, one of the things that came to me was, I think, I've been asking a lot for provision and that God would provide for my family. But the clarity that I got yesterday was, you're not asking for provision, you're asking for peace. You think that the provision will give you peace.
Yeah.
You're asking for the wrong thing. It's out of order.
That's our only promise. That's the only promise that we have is peace.
Well, there's a lot of promises that we'll be cared for, that we're loved more than the birds, right?
Yes.
But I think what I'm getting at is within myself, I still want things here to give me peace. I still want, if I had $50,000 in my bank account, I would feel peace. And I think what I've had exposed to my heart is it's the wrong altar. It's the wrong place.
Yeah.
And I want peace and I want hopeful expectation of provision. Okay, so then let's take that down. So then what do I do? Right? I don't see a strong man of God sitting on his couch waiting for manna to fall from heaven. That doesn't feel right either. So then where is it? What is it? What does it look like? And so everything I set my hand to, do it as though I do it under the Lord. Okay, but what I'm kind of getting at is it doesn't really matter. The work isn't the point. And so, you running a company that I started isn't it. I think the reason that we feel like it's not that important and it's not identity driven is because it's not. I think the work itself is far less valid and important,
Right.
than the position your heart sits in the midst. And so we should be childlike. We should be trusting that the Lord cares for us. We should trust his promise that he's a good dad and he loves us. And if if our heart sits in that place and has peace, then the striving moves from, I have to protect myself and I'm going to do that by making a lot of money, to, I know you're a good dad. Here's the work you set before me. I'm going to give everything that I can to it. And then sit in peace in that decision.
Yeah.
And the fruit of that is maybe less than I had hoped for initially from a physical standpoint. I'm not rolling in hundreds of thousands of dollars. However, I'm sitting in peace. Our needs are provided. The basics are met. But I guess what I really am taking away is all of that is still less important than where my heart is in the midst.
Right. Yeah. It's like I said, it goes back to what you're serving. And, for you're serving your wife and your family, and you're serving this idea of your talents, you're not directly serving your talents, but you're serving God
by utilizing them.
Yeah. You're serving God by utilizing your talents. And it's the same thing well, not the same thing, but it is an easy pivot from what we've always talked about. Like, dude, the press doesn't matter. The power hammer doesn't matter. The pickets and the gates and the tooling that you're making doesn't matter. What matters is the people that you're able to surround yourself with and the people you're able to serve by getting into that. And if I were to go work at Evan's sister-in-law, someone in Evan's family.
Evan doesn't have sisters. You're probably not going to have daughters.
Okay.
Yeah, we know.
Works for the NCAA.
Mm-hmm.
That is a place where I could go.
I don't know what the NCAA is.
It's college sports. So
that's why I don't know.
I could go and work in that setting. And because of the similar interests that I have with people that work there, I could enjoy that, and I could serve there, and I could be fruitful there. You could not. None of that is a possibility to you, right? But what has made Cole successful in my mind, and we can talk about financial success and buying a new building and all that fun stuff. And we need to do that to be able to support our actual mission, which is supporting the maker community. That's where I gauge our success. I gauge our success by people calling just to say, hey, I had a problem with my press a couple days ago and I emailed and you guys took care of it. And I want whoever Greg's boss is to hear how well he took care of me. Or I had a guy that bought a 25 ton, has had a 16 ton for a long time. Actually has like genuinely one of everything we make. Great dude. Shout out Charles. But he bought a set of rounding dies and, or his wife bought him rounding dies for Christmas, bought him for the 16 ton. He already had them, wanted to exchange them for the 25 ton, got them all situated. Every single email was like, dude, you guys are the best. I only shop through you guys because of you guys, and that's how I will continue to gauge our success via our mission statement, which is serve the community. I don't get a lot of emails that are like, hey, what the heck's going on? Why is this? I've had one recently, and it was a carrier's fault. And I very easily could have just been like, sorry, it's a carrier. Mm-hmm. I have nothing to do with it. But my mission is to serve that person. And so I did my best, but I don't get those very often. Mm-hmm. And it's because of what was put in front of me and me trying to be a good steward of it. And the same with Logan and Evan and everybody else that makes decisions around here. We were given something that we understand is not wholly ours, but we're responsible for. Mm-hmm. And so we are trying to serve Cole the best it can in order to serve people. Mm. And I know that was a long, weird rant, but I'll summarize it here with, when you are looking at your identity, you can't ignore, we get caught up in the how. The what and the why is so much more important. What am I doing? Right. And why am I doing it? That's my identity.
If you want to live a purposeful life, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, the basis of every decision you make, the standards that you expect out of yourself and the relationships that you build, the baseline foundation that you operate from, those things need to be identified sooner. And then you move out from that position. And I don't think I put enough thought into that as a youth to have a foundation. I had a framework, but I think I had a lot more to put down before I was able to truly move out into the world in a successful way. And so I think I'm going to pivot here. One question that I've been thinking about a lot and that I'm really curious if you have an opinion on it at all. You might not, but seems unlikely. What are your thoughts? Help me understand your perspective on the word dominion.
Dominion.
Because we were tasked to subdue the earth. Mm-hmm. There's a certain baseline human identity piece in the position that we were placed in historically. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts around that? Like in the context of a small business and the dominion that they hold as, we are two things simultaneously. We are dust and spirit, right? Mm-hmm. We were given a very specific, like God put a constraint on himself to not act in our dominion without us, in that he made us and he gave us the earth, right? So as a small business owner, we're talking about identity. We're talking about where does my attention need to be on a daily basis of posturing my heart correctly, of understanding what I'm supposed to be doing with the knowledge and expectation of, like the dominion placed kind of as a mantle of responsibility, but also as a provision of constant access to what we need. Give me some thoughts on that.
So first, what I want you to do is I want you to replace the word dominion with what you are thinking is the most similar word.
Well, dominion, hold on, let me ask the.
I mean, I understand what dominion means, but to get more of an understanding of what you are calling our dominion, I want you to replace it with
another
word.
The synonym given by the Oxford is sovereignty, which is a pretty big deal.
Is that what you would use though?
So maybe I can phrase the question in a different way. I don't know if I'm going to be able to come up with a different word. Let me look up. So we saw sovereignty. Let's look at authority, rule, control.
Okay.
I think control might even be a better word for the question, because what I'm asking is, where do the boundaries lie?
Yeah.
For where, if we're holding ourselves in a correct posture, what we need to be doing, what we need to be thinking about, what stress do we need to withstand? James says, consider it all joy whenever you face trials of many kinds. So the waves of resistance coming against us, from my perspective, it's like I'm starting a small business. I have no following. I have no base to leverage. I have to build it. And so I find myself feeling like I'm not doing enough. I mean, I'll watch a Gary Vee video and think, I should not be trying to do this in this season, right? But I want to move forward genuinely and authentically. I want to share our life. I want to share who we are. I want to share, but so I guess I see dominion as confidence that the Lord has given, will give everything that I need to move forward successfully. Where I get off base is, but it's not happening fast enough.
Right.
Is that fruit of me not working hard enough, long enough? And so I think I've struggled with that for a long time of, I don't feel secure that I've been given dominion to subdue the earth. I feel like frailty, and I see my inability to cause the fruit I want to see, right? It's like, I feel like I'm not doing enough in this season, and I can give you reasons why. But are you seeing I'm trying to define this like really stressful heart condition of, okay, so I have promises and dominion. That means I have authority to do things.
When I see the word dominion replaced, typically it's with authority. So not like physically replaced with the word authority, not like somebody's replacing it. I have the authority to do this. What I think that I was lost, you had me, I got lost again, and I think I took another wrong turn. But I might know what you're saying. If you replace the word dominion with authority, for me personally, I think that becomes more clear, because authority to me implies you are responsible for the action and you are also responsible for the consequence. So if, say you start a small business, and we'll just go verbatim here. I was going to try and be creative, but you start a small business selling axes. You are responsible for either making axes or finding manufacturer to make axes for you. You are responsible for listing them for sale, for advertising them, for creating a brand identity or culture or, a media package, whatever. You are responsible for those things. You are also in that way responsible for the outcome. Mm-hmm. Now, where the breakdown happens is we live in a broken world. So that doesn't mean that if it's a failure that can be wholly your fault, right? You are responsible for the safety and the well-being of your family, but kids break fingers. That doesn't mean that it's your fault that the kid broke his finger. Mm-hmm. You are responsible for that outcome. You have to then mend it. You have to take him to the doctor, or you have to set it, or, popsicle stick it, whatever your solution is. You are responsible for the outcome. And I think that's when you say, what is our place in our dominion, is it's our responsibility to push the boat off and guide it the best we can, understanding that there are times where our navigation system is going to fail us. We're going to lose a rudder. We're going to lose some of our bearings. Whatever is going on, whatever the result of what we're doing, because you wouldn't have lost your sail, you wouldn't have ripped through that sail had you never pulled the sail up. Mm-hmm. So you're still responsible for losing that sail, but it doesn't mean it's your fault. Does that make sense?
No. This is
Evan. Was that? No, didn't make sense.
I'm
to
not
you
following with either
Okay.
right now.
okay. So let me try to pivot us. Hopefully someone's like, oh yeah, I am feeling these things. A willingness to accept risk with the backbone in place of, I know that I have a good father that loves me, mm-hmm. that has invited me to the table, is inviting me to participate in creation. Mm-hmm. But then let me give you a metaphor, because I think in pictures. The idea I have is, like, Melinda and I have talked recently about King David and how he seemed to move through his life with a unfailing authority that anything he put his hand to, God was with him. Mm-hmm. And the things that he did flourished because of its, like, an authoritative expectation. Mm-hmm. When I move forward like that, I feel like I'm moving in pride, mm-hmm. and it feels wrong. Mm-hmm. And so there's this battle of humility within myself that I constrain my decision-making to the reality of my circumstances. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the invitation is to move forward without that, and to move forward with an expectation.
Right. I think that's part of the human condition. And what's lost is we can't call Saul, and we can't call David, and we can't call people and say, hey, did you ever struggle with what dominion meant? And how did you overcome that? Because it seems like, in my view, you were able to do that. The books and the stories that are told in the Bible were written after being handed down orally. So it's some of these stories are not inaccurate. That's not what I'm saying. Some of the stories, you lose some of the insider perspective.
Yeah. But I also feel like oftentimes when I'm given additional context, though, mm-hmm. it's even better than I could have potentially seen it to be. When I'm given the context of if you actually take this back to the Greek,
right?
Like, this word means way more than just one thing.
Well, and English, dude, it's English. As somebody who is actively trying to learn another language, English is bad. Like,
it's like a summary.
Yes, exactly.
It's very topical.
It's very this layer, and every other language.
Doesn't that perfectly describe our entire
existence?
Societal
Yes, absolutely it does. We've taken, if you go back to the Greek, they have 6 words for love, mm-hmm. and Latin has like 5 or 6 or 7 or something like that. And, I'm learning German, and German is very, like, conversationally, you will use, which every language is like the first 180 words in the in the language is going to be like 90% of your vocabulary. So words like the, I, and whatever, those are like, I just watched a whole video on it. It's pretty crazy. Shout out Josh Prince for showing me that. But conversational German, you have these very topical, like, if you really like somebody's car, it's the same way as saying, you know, in English, you would say, I like that car, or, oh, that's a pretty good looking car. But in German, it's like, that is a beautiful car. Your wife is beautiful. And it's kind of topical, but they have these other words that they avoid using because they have deeper meaning. And we don't have that. Like, I love you. I love my girlfriend. I love my parents. I don't have a way of saying I love my parents in a very different way than I love you without stringing a whole sentence together.
Sure.
So when you take it back to context, and what I've really been getting into is not just taking it back to the original language, but understanding where society was at. And some of the things, you know, and the one that launched me on it was if somebody strikes you on your right, say
your left cheek,
turn to them your right also. And everybody takes that as a like, well, just put up with it. And in reality, in context where society was at, that said, stand up for yourself, prove you're not a slave. They smacked you with their weak hand. Turn to them the side that you deserve. If you're going to get smacked with the strong hand, and prove to them that you are equal to them. So learning that was like, oh, I wonder how much other stuff we've missed. And learning the context, not just of the language, but of the society at the time is really important. But going back to your initial point of being able to move forward in confidence, we'll say, without being prideful, is a very slippery slope. And the thing is only you will know if you're moving forward in pride or in confidence. If I make a decision and say, all right, guys, I am going to, I don't know, launch this new product line, and it's going to be my face. Only I'm shooting YouTube videos now. I will be the face of the company. And I make that decision because I've spent time watching every single YouTube video we have, and I've identified we get 10 times more views on videos that I'm in than when other people shoot them. We get 10 times more engagement, and I have the data to back it up. I can sit down with Evan and give him this, and he can walk away from that meeting going, Francis just wants to be on camera. Only I will know that I truly spent the time getting those metrics and understanding, well, I really am the best in front of the camera, and I am the one that needs to be, which is not the case, guys. Charlie and Greg and Evan and everybody else here will continue to do that. I actually don't like being on camera very much, but it's really easy for other people just to see the actions that you take and judge it as, well, that's prideful. And I can see people saying, oh, Nathan left Cole because it's become bigger than Nathan. And he struggled with that. So he had to walk away and be the face of something. He needed that for his pride. When in reality, as I walked through that season with you, once I knew that was your plan, there was something off for a couple months. And then the way that I found out was I literally, and I don't think I've said this before, we shot that podcast where we talked about quitting your job. And then about 3 or 4 days later, we were sitting in the office and we were talking about, we were trying to fix the inventory system, and, you know, this had to get done. It's all messed up. And I looked at you and I said, I don't need you to respond, but you're quitting, aren't you? And so that's the fun way that I found out. But sorry, Teddy's the child's walking around. I don't know if we'll be able to get him on camera, but
That's right.
It would be really easy for people to see what you did and say, well, Nathan just needed his face in front of everything again. And it's gotten to the point where Logan's designing stuff and Charlie's on our YouTube, but Francis is answering phone calls, and it's not about Nathan anymore. When in reality, it was really hard for you to walk away because you were putting so much at risk. And I would say that if you were making that decision out of pride, the risk wouldn't be worth it. You would find a different way to feed your pride, your ego, your whatever, because I knew the circumstance, you know? So as you're asking that question, the thing that I immediately thought of was, well, the fact that you're asking the question tells me you're not doing it out of pride. The fact that you're concerned. And I remember a conversation that we had, and Evan, feel free to add a train horn over this or whatever, where you straight up told me, you said, Francis, I'm really concerned that I'm an egomaniac because I've never considered it. But some actions that I've taken in the past few months, I think fueled my own ego. And we talked about it. And it was not like, it was just, it was like, dude, no, you're going back and you're judging yourself. You're taking yourself out of the situation and judging the actions that you took without acknowledging where your heart was at the time, acknowledging what metrics or what statistics or what factors you had in play. You're just going back and doing the exact same thing I just said to yourself. Yeah. You're going back and saying, well, 6 months ago, I decided to shoot a bunch of YouTube videos. I just wanted to be on camera. And it's like, no, Nathan, you shot that because we had 3 products come out and we had 5 people on the floor. So everybody was busy making. You were the only one available to do it. Sure. But 6 months later, you were like, does that make me an egomaniac? Does that make me egotistical?
Egomaniac was the word I used, but yeah, your point's not lost on me. I guess, you know, to summarize what this conversation I hope is communicating is, I think that the tension in the moment is good. My concern is I don't want to miss an opportunity to be more than what I can see today. You know, there's that, I think it was in Ragamuffin Gospel, great book, where he talked about, you know, people are so willing to just continue playing with their mud pies, and they never look up long enough to really saturate themselves in the vision of what could be. And I don't want to limit because I'm scared. You know, that would be a huge miss given the opportunity and the circumstances.
Fear is healthy. Fear is good.
Can be.
You know, bravery is who said it? Some American guy.
Ugh.
Bravery is not the absence of fear. It's what you do in the face of fear.
Sure.
So yes, dude, be fearful. Fear is the beginning. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, right?
Sure.
So be fearful in what you're doing, but be faithfully fearful and say, dude, I am totally afraid that this is going to fall flat on its face. And in 6 months, I'm going to have to go back and apply to be a welder at Cole at a company that I started, or, you know, go work at Jeff's farm half days or whatever. Like, yeah, dude, be afraid of that. But because you're afraid of it, it gives you the ability to forecast it and prevent it. You know,
sure.
I'm afraid of it. So how do I stop it from happening? Humans are afraid of snakes. So we don't live in the jungle very often anymore. You know, we got out of that. We built houses to keep big cats out of our house, you know, like 10 millimeters protect us from bears. Like, we're afraid of stuff. It's natural, but we've come up with ways to make sure that we protect ourselves from that. So and it's the exact same thing when you're talking about going into small business or being a father or being a husband, or anything that you can loop into that identity thing that we started the topic with, is you should have some fear. I have a myriad of fears. I have a fear that I'm going to fail my friends, that they're going to need me in a time that I'm not available. And that could be spiritually, that could be financially, that could just be physically. They needed me to, I am one of the few people that if you ask me to help move, I actually feel bad about saying no. Like, I have to feel available to people. That's one of my big fears. And I've made poor decisions that have allowed me to be available for people. And I'm slowly learning the boundaries there. But having fear and going into a situation is so healthy, because that's the thing that keeps you from failing faster than it would have if you could forecast a couple of those things, you know? When I was working retail, there's a fear of having to close your doors because your clothing isn't considered cool by teenagers anymore, or that this brand seems outdated, or their quality is going to drop, or whatever. There are fears. And so one of the things they did to protect that was we literally called it forecasting. And it would be every couple weeks, you would email the buyers and you would say, this is what I'm noticing kids coming in wearing that we're not selling. How fast can we get it? Oh, there's been a revival in early 2000s skate brands. Cool. That means there's probably going to be a revival in Tap Out and in what's the Ed Hardy brand and all that stuff. Like, there's going to be a revival and all that. We're forecasting, we're looking forward. And dude, I don't want to have to fire 15 employees and shut the doors on this store. I'm fearful of that. So I take the time to make sure that we're not going to do that. And what you're talking about right now, or I think maybe this could be wholly wrong, but what you're talking about right now is you're like, man, I'm afraid that provision isn't going to come through. And I'm afraid that, I'm impacting my wife and my children and my household by this decision that could easily be understood as making this decision for me, when in reality, you made this decision to be a steward. This turned into a therapy session. You made this decision to be a steward, and you are broken. You're fallen. You are man, so you aren't perfect. So you're a little bit lost on what that exactly looks like. But in the moment, you should be able to identify what you're working on based off of, this is what I was given, and this is where I see it going. How do I get there? And part of that is saying, well, yeah, what if this drop that I sell, the website glitches and gets sent to the wrong bank account? Cool. Go with a bank or a collector, whatever the payment method that has a good track record. We talked about it with induction forges. Well, what if my induction forge breaks? I don't want to have to go in and play with electricity. Awesome. Work with somebody that sells induction forges that doesn't make you do that, that has a good track record. So, yeah, dude, you're afraid, and that's good. And, I'm sure it's something that anybody out here can relate to, whether it be starting a new job, starting a new business, even say, oh, knife making's just a hobby. Do I need to go out and buy the 12 ton? It's like, I'm afraid this thing won't pay for itself. There's fear there. And I understand that. But without fear, we would just, the things that I would do if I had no fear, physically, socially, like.
Yeah, I guess part of me, what I'm asking you is, somebody's starting a company, somebody's starting from scratch. I am feeling more and more like the invitation is to move forward without the fear. And I think that would be a more righteous way to walk this out. And that makes me feel simultaneously like you're invited to a party, but you're not sure you want to go.
Yeah, but and I think that the fears that we're talking about are a little bit different. Like, yeah, dude, I don't want you to have crippling fear. I don't want you to be so afraid. I don't want you to be so afraid. We've got producer Evan, also teacher Evan.
Well, he's
daycare Evan.
We've been thinking about when we're going to drop Teddy off and just give you guys a couple days to, saturate yourselves in the reality.
You've got to drop the both of them off. Teddy is perfect when he's by himself.
That's true.
You've got to drop. Anyway, I want you to have the fear that I'm referring to is wisdom. I don't want you to be.
Well, it's kind of cautious, right? I mean, and so I don't think we're necessarily talking about two different fears. I think when you're walking into a new business and you're getting started, I think it would be easy for someone looking at you to say, wow, you must be prideful, because they don't have the context of the heart position behind the confidence. But I think.
Well, and they also don't know that you and your wife have been talking about this for a year and she's on board.
Well,
it's not a one person decision.
Yeah, but for sure. But I guess, I hope that if you are listening to this and you're thinking about going full time in your endeavor, and you see, you feel, I've had this talk with a myriad of people at this point, given, I only walked away in November. I mean, we're talking about 2 months, 3 months now. So I think I've been very surprised by the number of people that have reached out and said, how did you know? And my thing was, it's not that I knew, it's just I couldn't ignore it anymore.
Yeah.
I knew 5 years ago. I just knew. And I couldn't tell you why. I could try to come up with a reason. I don't know. There was something that said, okay, that's done. What's next? And, even Andy looked at me and said, why are you here? I thought you and I agreed, like, you need to go do the next thing.
Yeah.
That was horrifying. So, but I knew, right? You just know.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you just know. I think that's a sure sign. And you're seeking after maybe clarity and all those things. But, there's a Mother Teresa quote where this priest asked her, I've been asking for clarity and I don't have it. I don't have clarity. What do I do? And
if you want to read, I can't remember the name of her biography. There's a bunch of biographies about her.
Yeah.
But there's one specifically that I read that was very, like, the Catholic Church tried to get it shut down. It includes a bunch of letters that she wrote to her priest or father or whatever.
Yeah.
Back and forth. And that quote might have been in it.
Yeah.
But there were quotes that are like, one of them that sticks out to me is why have you sent me here? There is no God in India, because she was in a place of such suffering and poverty. And she literally lost her faith and almost renounced Christ, and ended up, coming back. And her story is so powerful in the way that it's kind of like, it's funny that you mentioned her, because it's kind of the same way where this biography that I read about her, it was specifically about like her first 10 or 15 years maybe in India. And you watch it wane. She gets out there and she's like, oh, there's so much opportunity. I can do all these things. And oh my goodness, we are going to have such a good impact because there's so many problems that there's a ton of solution, and it's very gung ho. And then 2 or 3 years into it, she's like, nope, there's no God here. There's no ability for me to do anything. Stop sending me money. Stop sending me any sort of support. I'm going to die here in the godless wasteland you put me in. And it was like accusatory. A lot of her letters were kind of like, don't even bother getting me out because I hate you. This will never be fruitful ever again, but that is kind of what it feels like, sometimes there's been ebbs and flows in my employment here where it's really, really good for a while. And then it's really, really frustrating for a couple of weeks. And, overall I'm, over the moon at this opportunity that I've been given. But is that kind of what you're talking about, where you're going through an ebb and flow like that?
So her response to him was, I would never pray for clarity. You need to pray for faith. And you totally missed the boat. That's okay. I thought that was a fun little excursion.
Yeah.
The point then stands that you feel the call. At some point, you're going to have to move forward in faith. And I think the scariest part for me is I did. And I haven't made $1 million yet.
Yeah.
But then that goes back to what I said earlier. It's like, okay, so you're waiting to get peace from the provision. That'll never come. That will be an existential pursuit for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's never enough.
Ever. Yeah. I mean, how many millionaires have you read about that say, well, I made 10, but now I need 100.
Yeah. Or the guy that Joe Rogan always talks about, that he has a friend that's a billionaire and is worth like $9 billion. And his best friend is worth $30 billion. So he constantly refers to himself as poor.
Right. Well, there will always be an excuse to feel like it's not enough. And I guess what I'm getting at, the total summarization of this conversation is, I think what I'm realizing is, if my heart position is correct, I can be content.
Yeah.
Still work 60, 70 hours a week and let, my effort express itself through the authority I've been given and not be crushed by it. Because I've worked until I was crushed. Yeah. And not provided more than, as a business owner, when you work more, you don't necessarily make more.
Right.
I'm not an hourly employee.
Yeah.
Now, there are seasons, and I'm coming into one right now, where I need to be preparing my equipment, myself, my family now for then, because I can see the writing on the wall. There's some really big projects coming down. That's why I'm here today. And I'm going to be very busy.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's just a very interesting season to have all of these things happening simultaneously, feel like I'm still in the preparatory stage, feel like that's somewhat a waste of time, but looking down the barrel of all of this intense reliance upon what I have, et cetera, et cetera. So again, summarization, it's like, I think what I'm realizing is the heart position is number one, that I have to serve the correct God. And it's not going to be, the God is not provision. The God is not my family. The God is not my comfort. Serve the correct God, have joy in the midst of the trial, walk forward confidently in faith, not clarity. How, the scripture that how blessed those are that haven't seen and yet still believe.
Yeah.
And, you're talking about a woman that poured her life out, and you're telling me that after 3 years, she hadn't seen the fruit of her effort.
Yeah.
Do I still have faith? Like, okay, now what we're talking about isn't shallow.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about authentic identity.
Right. And it goes back to what you said, where it's, I did the work. Where's the reward?
Right.
And the idea of doing things for reward is kind of messy for me, because you do it because it's the right thing, not because there's a reward. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up, is if I do the right thing, the right things happen to me. The idea of karma, right? Sure. I get it coming back to me. The more and more that you become selfless and you do things for the right reasons, and you commit yourself to a pursuit of doing it strictly and solely and wholly because it is what you should be doing, the rewards kind of stop coming. Now, I'm not saying that you can't do the right things and be successful. Maybe part of the blessing that comes from your work is monetary. Maybe that is, but it's not always going to be monetary, and it's not always going to be even something that you can account for. But going back to our promise being peace is, I know that if I make, and I'm not perfect, I'm not saying I do this 100% all the time correctly, but if I make the right decisions and I act selflessly and I do things specifically with the idea of no reward, I just feel better. And that might be my blessing. I just feel better about who I am.
Might be your mantle.
Right.
I think so. Earlier we talked about dominion, and it got a little cloudy. I think very cloudy. I had a little bit of momentary clarity that I think, one of the things that I see is there are people doing different things and different scale, right? Like, you have one guy that is making knives out of his garage. You have another guy, you have Josh Smith, right, that started MKC, and that has become a much larger company.
Yeah.
Which one's better?
It's a different answer for every person.
It's an unknowable equation.
Right. There's pros and cons to either.
But there's also different talents given to each. And so I think that the dominion question is, for my case, it's like, what is God calling me to do? I probably should hash that out and kind of figure that out a little further, because I think there's a measure of additional authority given to someone that's being called to a different, right? So MKC has a lot more
structure,
authority.
Yeah.
They've got land and employees and supply chain, and there's a lot more, but there's also a lot more being asked. Whereas the guy in his garage that's making axes, and supporting his family, if that's the totality of the pursuit, okay. You know, maybe I'm only turning 1 talent into 2. But then if my expectation is to make $60 million, then I need to hash out, why is that my expectation?
Right.
Well, provision gives peace. No, that's a lie. Peace. And then I trust that things will be provided.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to wrap up this dominion question a little bit because it's kind of a tricky one. But I think I'm understanding what my own question was a little bit as we've kind of talked through this. It's you know, it's like the dominion size, the authority size of King David was probably greater than what was given to Paul, a preacher sent out and stoned and killed and, you know, like, but we needed them both. We needed a head and we needed a heart and we needed toes and we needed, right? Okay. I'm getting a little, but as a maker, I think we need to identify that heart song call. Like, I know it's right to leave.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you should move forward with faith and certainty. But I also think that what I probably need to do next is, okay, so then what does that look like? And then move forward with that certainty and with that faith and expectation.
Well, and just knowing that what you have is enough.
Right.
Like,
well, and I see
it is enough.
I see contentment as complacency. I see contentment as the guy that works 40 hours a week and watches football on Sunday. Like,
dude, I would love that life.
That to me would be sinful.
Yeah.
That seems wrong. I'm not saying it is for everyone. I'm just saying if I lived my life that way, I mean, I did it here. I got my paycheck and then we did some sports and some animals and it felt wrong because I think that I'm supposed to be doing other things. And so now I'm doing those things and that sits right with me.
Right.
So I can move forward with peace because my heart position is correct, and certainty and contentment in the scale of where things are because the marinade might take a while and that's okay. The fear piece is, in my opinion, more so about protecting my heart posture than about what can the world do to me. Take my house, take my kids, et cetera. Right, yeah. Right. So position your heart correctly, move forward with certainty and peace.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's the same thing that I was saying is what are you afraid of and how do you forecast those pitfalls? Well, I'm afraid that this is going to be an ego-based decision or an ego-based action.
Right.
So what steps do you take to prevent yourself from being overtaken by your own needs and wants?
In mine, it's so real time. It's not prevent. It's how do I reposition?
Yeah.
How do I today? I'm living day to day. Like, how do I today posture myself correctly, support my family lovingly, selflessly, move what the Lord has called me to do forward in the best way I can come up with. And then lots of prayer and asking for fresh ideas.
Yeah. And maybe I'm just oversimplifying it, but good night. Sometimes just slow down is the answer to literally everything that you just said. Sometimes the answer is just slow down. Say, you're stressing about, you've got a grinder that you can't find belts for and you're stressing about that. Well, you have 5 grinder belts on hand. Use it a little bit sparingly until you can figure it out. But dude, slow down and understanding that it's not the end of the world. The one of the few good things that we have about this society is there are soft places to fall. I don't want to, but I know that if anything ever happened and I lost my job, I could go work at a fast food chain and be the best employee for the 3 months I'm looking for an actual job, So putting it into a perspective of saying, And it kind of goes back to understanding that what I have is enough. But going back and looking and saying, yes, I want to make axes and I want to sell and I want to provide for my family doing this, and using the talents that God gave me is the way that I feel like I should be providing for my family. And I think that's how I'm going to get the wholeness of my life. I think that's a very, very good pursuit. And I am supportive of you in doing that. But I also think there is a very, 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 very small piece. Do not hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying just give up and go work at Kohl's, but there's a very, very small piece that says, well, and at the end of the day, if this doesn't work out,
a willingness to surrender.
I know I started a business and worked there for 10 years and moved into a 46,000 square foot building, had 20 employees at one point. I know that I have the talents to do whatever comes after this. So this is good now,
right?
But failing at it is not the end of me. My children aren't going to wake up and hate me because I stopped doing FarmSmith. My children didn't hate me when I quit coal. Teddy was a little upset about the truck. But that's it. You know, that was the totality of their response. So understanding, yes, I'm going to go in this with fervor and with faith, and I'm going to do this to the absolute best of my ability. And guess what? I'm going to fail. But if I get to the point of ultimate failure where I have to shut the doors, that doesn't change my identity. That doesn't change who I am. That doesn't change
define me.
Exactly.
Yes.
I have the ability to pivot into another place. And like I said, my example is I have a lot of experience in food. I have a lot of experience in management. I have a lot of experience in both creating and executing on systems. Sounds so dumb, but that's what I'm good at is systems and organizing, creating, and executing on systems. What did we say we were going to do and how do we do it? Okay, cool. How do we make sure that we do it? That kind of thing. So I know that if all of this closes tomorrow, which it's not, but if all of this closes tomorrow, there are, Fortune 500, I have something to offer every single one of those companies. And it might be in middle management. It might be, I can drive a forklift. I can go get a job at the Tractor Supply warehouse down here, driving a forklift until I find a better job.
Sure.
So putting your talents forward and trying your absolute best is a great pursuit, but understand that there will be times where, those talents will have to be put into other areas, I guess is what I'm saying. Is like, I wouldn't expect you to stop doing FarmSmith and go work at rallies.
Right.
I would expect you to go work at rallies for a couple weeks while you figured out what was the next thing. There has to be that interim piece of, bills still have to get paid. I'm not crazy. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, if this fails and I lose my house and, my kids don't have food to eat, well, what you have is enough and you need to look at it that way. It's like, I'm able to say that because I know that you and I both share that willingness to, I know what my bare necessities are and I'm willing to work to get to those bare necessities. And it would be nice to have a bigger TV someday, or it would be nice to have a 12 valve Cummins, or it would be nice to have these things. And I'm willing to do the work for them, but sometimes you are just working for the bare basic necessities, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And pivoting to that doesn't mean that you failed at life. It just means that didn't work out, and you have to have the ability to pivot at the right time.
Okay.
Well, plug your stuff. What do you have coming out? Don't just lend it with that. What do people have to look forward to?
Well, so right now we just dropped the hog splitter. That's going to be it's a very large, several pound meat cleaver that you can check out. The truck axe is available, and I've been shipping those all over the world. Actually, I've shipped to Italy, France, Germany, and then all over the U.S., of course. And so we're going to continue having truck axes available. We are currently working on another product that I'm not even going to tell you what it is yet. That should drop sometime early March. Yeah, the thing that I'm finding some traction with and that I'm really leaning into right now is that I've had several large companies contact me to make them stuff, and trying to figure out the workflow for that, and the prototyping and getting stuff back to them really quickly. And I've seen a lot of traction with that, because it's uncommon, I think, for small shops like mine to be able to take on production size of, anything more than 10, really. And so I'm going to be doing some higher quantity production work for several large companies, which I'm super excited about the partnership and the opportunity. And then just, patiently move forward as I can kind of bring to life some designs that I'm finding in notebooks from 8 years ago. And yeah. So farmsmithco.com or farmsmith.co. And then the Farmsmith Company on Instagram, and Brandt Blacksmith on Instagram. That's my personal. I post a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, like me wiggling a bandsaw and playing with my duplicator and all that kind of fun stuff. So, I'd love for you to get in touch and talk to me and let me know if you guys are struggling with some of the same things that we talked about today. I'd love to converse, especially if you have some wisdom on it. That would be great.
Yeah, if you're 3 or 4 years out of it.
Yep.
Still fresh enough to recollect it. But
yeah.
All right, cool. Well, guys, thanks for joining us. Come see us at the CBA. Also, we should be being able to tease IBA here soon. They usually start getting information out right around February, so I should be able to start teasing that. It is going to be super cool this year. I have some insider information on that one. It's going to be super cool. So, all right, guys, tell someone you love them. Talk to them about something slightly below surface level this week.
Go deep.
Have one good conversation with a trusted friend that
or a stranger
that can pick your spirits up. Nah, the stranger things gets weird. Yeah. I don't want to get deep with a stranger. All right. Deuces, gooses.
Love you. Bye.